Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is what happens when Tex plays a intro that he is yet to finish or downloaded the wrong version of it. One of the two. Wait, I tell you what. See what happens. No adult supervision, and
hello,
the
Tex.
show goes off the rails right out of the gate.
Yeah, and you caught me on my phone texting everybody in chat. So
yeah, see, you wasn't paying attention, and let's see if we can get over. Oh, look out, man.
Look at that, man. Look at that.
Hollywood.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he just messed that up, too.
What did you do?
I don't know.
Yeah. Join the club, Gerald. Oh, there you
go. I thought I'd do best of both worlds.
Yeah. I almost wore that same bandana.
Oh, my. Yeah, this one's vintage. I had to dig it out of the closet.
Well, the title of the show is The Invasions of the Beards and Bandanas, so quite fitting.
Yeah, well, he's got it covered on both ends, so.
Yeah.
So, folks, we don't know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Maybe you should start by saying why we're here and not the lovely blondes.
Well, we're not losing anybody, so evidently we're okay there.
Yeah, no. 105 in chat.
They're up in Ohio doing their ghosty thing, so, you know.
Yeah. Hey,
so
maybe
we
they'll
decided to invade their show, take over.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they'll come with a live video tonight, you know, like around 2 a.m.
Yeah. Their midnight specials.
Well, wouldn't be the first time.
No, it wouldn't be. I must say, I like those live impromptu, you know, shows in a haunted house or cemetery or wherever you may be.
Yeah, it helps. It helps when you're, you know, live somewhere that you're investigating or going out on the trails or just pop on, you know, just unannounced. It's surprising how many people show up late at night.
You would be surprised. You know, I know Tex and I know from experience, and really so did the Blondes. I've popped on a whim, 3 a.m, 5 a.m. Tex has done the same. And Gerald, of course, you're familiar because you pretty much are up all the time. And you'd be surprised at like 4:30 in the morning, I went on just to talk about a dream I had. And dude, I had like 40, after about a half hour, there's like 45 people hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people just are up. And of course, a lot of them, though, are from, I guess in the UK, 3 in the morning.
In Australia.
Yeah, there's more mid-afternoon for them, I think.
Yeah, because we'd pop on at midnight. You know, that's our normal show on Wednesday nights is around midnight. And, we'll be going for a couple hours. All right, we're getting ready to go. And then all of a sudden 10 more people pop in. It's like, well, okay, we'll stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's like they never stop. The numbers just keep rolling. You lose a few, then you gain a few more back.
Yep. So you were talking Papa G, you were talking earlier about y'all are rolling some new stuff. Y'all are doing live feeds of animals, varmints and critters and everything.
Yeah, we bought new security cameras just to play around with them to try to see how much of the night sky. And then they work pretty well. We can see it, but they don't angle up as much as we want to. And the ones that we bought, if we angle them, they start fish eyeing, in the sky. So we started putting them on the goats and the chickens that we have, and it's like everybody started loving that. So we started doing lives in the afternoon, once in a while at night. And they have the IR and the night color vision on these cameras. So we pick up deer and possums and coons and anything else that crawls through the yard. And everybody just seems to love it. And our biggest hit so far is 1.2 thousand on a deer eating some of our leftovers out of our garden this year. So I don't know if
I think people just love watching wildlife. Especially when, nobody else is, what's it do when nobody else is around? What happens? Yep.
Well, we were getting people from Australia and stuff that don't have necessarily our versions of the possum or the raccoons, right, or their deer, or either they don't have it or they don't look exactly like ours. And it's peaceful. I mean, we put a little music to it and let the deer graze in our garden, just watch it.
Hey, let me ask you, in your yard, in your property, are you in the woods, or are you just in a regular subdivision, or do you have like a bigger lot? Obviously you have a bigger lot, because you have goats and things like that. Do you back up to a wood line or anything?
We're on the edge of town and we have a field in front of us, 2 houses beside us, but nobody really. One of them's empty and the other one is an older couple that hardly ever come out. And then straight behind us is an 80-acre field that belongs to somebody else, but we have permission to go out there and do whatever, but so we bought the pole barn for their combine that went with that field, because we bought the house from the farm. So we also bought the pole barn. So nobody be out there making demo derbies at midnight behind us. So we got a little bit of extra property, but we don't have any of the field. We tried to buy some of it, but we just couldn't reach an agreement. So
yeah.
But we have tree line. We have a tree line along the one side of us that belongs to the railroad, and then the other side, if you go about a mile, there's another tree line that runs along the Illinois River. Then it just goes deeper and deeper into the woods. So we're not really there, but we kind of are.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of opportunities, for whatever might be lurking about. I'm interested in that railroad. Is that a busy railroad, or is it just a sporadic? I mean, it's not like it's just for cargo, I imagine. It's not the Amtrak or anything like that.
It used to be Amtrak, or Rock Island Railroad used to run through there. Then they stopped that service, but we still have factories that rely on that. So every once in a while, you'll see a train come through. And it's neat when the fog hits the field, because our whole view is that railroad and that field, and you can see that light coming through the fog down the tree line. So we got a couple of videos of that. I wish it was a ghost train, but we haven't found one yet.
I bet if you were to go on the tracks and follow it on a hike, it probably would lead you to some interesting areas, because I've done it where I live. And I tell you, I ended up in some places where I'm like, really? Where I just wanted to turn around. I'm not talking. It's just kind of weird.
I haven't went very far south, but when we go to town, on our main road, it follows that railroad track. So I know pretty much where they all lead. But as a kid, we would ride our motorcycles, our up and down that trail right next to the wreck, and we'd probably go about 10 or 12 miles on it. So I'm pretty familiar with that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was a kid, I was a kid. I mean, I was in eighth, ninth grade when I did this. There was a lake that we used to go camping. A bunch of us kids would go camping out quite a bit, and we would go back. We'd follow the feeder creek, you know, and just, you know, go back there and see what was going on and everything. And we came across the remnants of an old train trestle back there crossing a shallow creek. So we came up, well, let's, and then it had tracks on it. So, well, shit, let's follow these tracks because there ain't no trains coming through here. You could tell, you know. So we started following the tracks, and the tracks just ended out in the middle of a damn field, and there was railroad tracks, sections of railroad track piled up on each side where they just stopped building. Didn't take nothing back when they just stopped. It was like, well, this is weird. Well, come to find out what it was is that was that was the route that the train was going to take, and then they changed the county seat from one city to another, and they took it a different direction. So they just quit building out there. It's like just dropped it, and then we left. So we kept walking, and there was a hill out in this field, and it had a stand of oak trees on it. And we was like, well, that looks cool. Let's go check that out. We get up there, and I'll be damned, there wasn't an old cemetery on top of it.
Oh.
And this was in the middle of nowhere. We didn't even know who owned this land. We didn't cross any fences getting there. We just walking out back behind this lake for probably a couple of miles and just ran up on this thing. And there was an old cemetery. You couldn't, I don't even remember. It's been so damn long ago. I don't remember what the gravestone said, but I remember it being really, really old, like 1800s, you know. And I remember like there was a family plot that had a little wrought iron fence around it. You know, the thing wasn't but about 12 inches high, but it was around the whole family. I remember that. But yeah, we just, I mean, dumbass kids, we was like, oh, this is pretty cool. That was it, you know? And we never looked into it. We never investigated it. And I don't know. I need to get with Randy because he knows that he knows the people still out there in that area. I wonder if we could get back in there again and maybe find that thing again. I mean, but they may have just, as much as they've developed and stuff around there, that may not even exist anymore. I don't know.
Right. There's a place that I think I told it on your guys' show before that there's a place that used to be really, it was a small town and it had a railroad going through it and it was really industrial. I mean, it had the general store, it had the grain elevators, it had the blacksmith and all that stuff in there. Then the railroad changed this route, just like you were talking about. Well, then the town died after that. I mean, there's a marker there for Held, Illinois. And I used to go by there every day on work to go to work and every day coming home from work. It'd be just past midnight. And I'm hoping one of these nights that when I was going by that I'd see a ghost town or the town would be there and I'd like be able to experience that. But it's on my list, but it hasn't ever showed up yet.
You know, you guys gave me a pretty cool idea. I'm just thinking back now about this Texas, you know, I've told you, maybe you, Papa G. You know how running through my neighborhood, we have the creek, which I've seen some crazy things going on. It's about 7 to 14 miles, but and the creek runs to the Detroit River. So there's a city when I was a little kid, maybe 13, 14, and my mom and dad had friends that live in a city called Wyandotte, Michigan. Now that's a downriver city, and
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's an awesome city. It's got a lot of nostalgia. It's got a nice little town, very pretty, and it's just quaint. You know, in fact, I like to live there, to be honest with you. However, there's certain sections and it does run through a rougher neighborhood to get there, which is fine. So we're in Wyandotte. We're walking the creek. Again, this creek runs for miles. It was me, my brother, and another buddy who was part of where my mom and dad were visiting. And there was, speaking of railroad tracks, a railroad track. So we get up from the creek and we're watching and following this railroad track. And so we just started walking the track. And I remember distinctly that me, my brother, my friend, his name was Mike, we thought it was kind of creepy, though. We were unfamiliar. We're 13, 14, so we're unfamiliar with the surroundings. And we just all thought it was kind of spooky. And really, it probably wasn't. But we all felt, ooh. So we kept following the railroad tracks. And you know what, Tex? Just like you said, it went through a lot of the dilapidated areas. And do you know where this railroad track ended, though? It ended right at the river's edge, the Detroit River.
Oh. And
now looking back at it, I can't even understand if there was maybe, because down in Wyandotte there was a steel company, a steel factory, a small steel factory. And I'm just wondering if that was part of the transportation to the old steel mills, right? But there's nothing there but the river. And I never really looked into it. The only reason I'm bringing up this little story here is because of what we just started talking about. So it spurred on memories in my mind. So I'm wondering what that was. I wonder what that's all about. Because it does seem odd that a railroad track ends right at the river, you know?
Right.
Well, a lot of times they'll run into like issues building the bridge where they end the tracks at, and they'll change and go another route. And it's like I saw, they just drop everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird, but yeah.
I know in Illinois, there's a lot of old train trestles still around. Like you'll see the concrete bridges or the support parts still on the side of the rivers, but the train track is gone.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. You know, I do find train tracks or old rail roadways very, very haunting. Now that, you know, we all do what we do today. Never thought much about it until now, you know, like the old creek beds and anything really. So now we are all more open-minded to it.
A lot right along that railroad going down the main road going to the other town I was telling you about, but going north, there's a conservation area that we want to get out on the trails in. But besides that, right next to it is still part of the same area, is like a natural spring or bog that has the grass, you know, the grass growing up in it, and it's got the bird feeders out in the middle on poles. It just looks creepy. It goes right into the woods and into those nature trails. And that's where I want to explore.
You know, oops, wrong one. Kevin Bode brings up a good point with the whole in and at the river. Maybe they transported pig iron or steel by the river.
And that was just an unloading area where it's ended.
Yeah. Very possible.
Yeah. And again, I'm not suggesting it's anything haunting. Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
We kind of touched on it the other night, Rob, when me and you were talking and stuff about the whole Lake Erie thing or what, just not just Lake Erie, but the whole Great Lake, the Great Lakes, period.
Yeah.
Y'all have had so much weird stuff happen.
Yes.
Around in and around the Great Lakes. I mean, the damn things are so big and so deep that, I mean, they're 700, 800, 900 feet deep or something like that. I mean,
some are insanely deep. 900 feet. Well, Lake Erie is the closest to me, and that can get up to 600 feet deep. But it's the shallowest one, though. Average depth is maybe 90. But in some sections, it's weird. It'll bottom out. It'll go maybe 400 feet. That's just shallow.
Right.
Lake Ontario, never been on that. That's shallow. But Lake Superior, actually, Tex, has depths that have not been even charted.
Thank you, Hawk.
Thanks, Hawk.
Thank
So yes, I mean, and they're all eerie. And, all the Great Lakes, and I will say this, I'm not familiar with Ontario,
Right.
Lake Ontario, but the Lake Erie, there's creepy things involved over there. Lake Superior, probably the creepiest, and Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. Lake Huron has the Michigan Triangle, similar to the Bermuda Triangle, where ships and airplanes have been lost. And we
Right.
had the infamous 1994 UFO sighting over Lake Michigan, where there's 300 reported UFOs over in the sky from Lake Michigan all the way to Chicago.
Yeah.
That's been spotted. And Lake Superior has been known for the little people, Sasquatch, other cryptid activity. Lake Huron, again, you've got Sasquatch. But there's also these lake monsters.
Well, see, and that's what I was, because there's several of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's five? I think there's 5 legends of Great Lakes monsters and one specter or ghost.
Yeah.
That, what is it called? The Presque or Presque River?
Presque Isle.
Yeah, Presque Isle River.
Yep.
And they call the creature Pressy. Well, that's original.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
But what do you know about these things? I mean, you live there. You got to know something about these.
I do. I know what I know is probably, and I will say this before I go on. I do have to do a lot more research, just reading up about all of our Great Lakes. I really do. And I've heard a lot of legend or lore, and a lot of it stems from our very own Detroit River, where
Right.
we had in the Detroit River, they thought that there was, quote unquote, a Loch Ness monster, where there was spotted a 15 to 20 foot wide, like a slithering snake that you would see the back, the humps would break the river's water off the top of the Detroit River. And no one knew quite what it was, but they kind of reflected on Nessie from, the Loch
Right.
Ness. And no one ever seen anything. But it's weird because the Detroit River will also lead into Lake Erie. And again, the same creature or whatever was spotted in Lake Erie. And it's never been proven, or it's never been found out what it is, but it's always been 15 to 20 up to 30 feet long. Some people will say, with all these humps on the back, they would just
Right.
graze the top and dive down. And there's nothing about it. Some people suggest it might be an ancient sturgeon, because sturgeons have been on in the Great Lakes for 300, 400, 500 years.
And they get big.
And they can get just as big as what I'm describing. But
Right.
not many of sturgeons, though, come up to the surface. They're bottom feeders.
Yeah,
They
but I
have to
think
come up.
don't they surface like when they're breeding or
I
something
think
like that?
Perhaps they have, because sturgeons in shallow rivers or creeks, obviously a lot of people spear them, okay?
Right.
And they collect their eggs. It's supposed to be their eggs are supposed to be, quote unquote, cheap caviar.
Right.
So I've heard that before. And I've heard the legends of the Loch Ness monster, again, in Lake Erie. Thanks to Shadows.
Thank you, Two Shadows.
And yeah, so a lot of these again, I say mythical, but and a lot of them go back, though, Tex, to Native Americans,
Right.
and they have, again, the same creature I'm talking about that you can see skimming at the top of the river. would be at the northern part of Lake Superior. And once it skimmed the river, supposedly it ate Indians out in their canoes fishing. And they were very terrified to go fishing. This is back in the early 1900s. Legend had it where in northern Lake Superior, after several years, many Indians going out fishing in the canoes would never make it back either. And the legend had that they were swallowed by this beast of Lake Superior.
Right.
And there's a First Nations name for it, Tex. And again, I don't know what it is. I mean, if I knew we were going to talk about this, I could have looked it all up. However, but yes, there's a lot of these weird things. But another thing too, though, about really quickly, Tex, another thing about all the Great Lakes, and I've been to one of these old, abandoned, haunted lighthouses.
Oh yeah.
There's so much going on. Michigan is actually a cool state to do research. I don't care what your genre is. There's a little bit of everything here.
Yeah, I mean, you get into true crime, Michigan is yeah. I mean, y'all got a lot of evil people that came out of Michigan.
Yeah. Well, I told you about the Oakland child killer. You know, we've had a lot.
Yeah, and we're actually going to do an episode of Infamous Minds on that you're gonna actually come on.
Yeah, I'll put that together. So I did the Long Island Bigfoot. Lisk. I did the one on Lisk. We got to do that one too.
Yeah, we got to do that one too.
And then if you ever want me to dive into the Michigan one, that's a 2-hour episode though. We could do it though.
Yeah, we could do a part 1, part 2, or we could do a 2-hour show. It doesn't matter. But there was another one that I guess you could call it cryptid, but it's the specter that I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to put my finger on that one.
And I did you a favor. I looked it up. Okay. And it comes from the Ottawa. Is it Ottawa or Ottawa?
Ottawa.
Ottawa, the Ottawa tribe. They talk, and it's a demon dwarf who comes up from the Straits of Detroit, and it's not like the other Great Lake monsters. This is a red devil.
Yes,
it's described as being about 2.5 feet tall, wears furry boots with red eyes and just gnarly looking teeth.
And it would come up on shore and invade. Little communities.
He's very they loves to be flattered, and those that cross or belittle the imp, and they call it an imp, seem to get a string of bad luck, which they never recover from. But the founder of Detroit, Anton Cadillac, I had no idea that was the founder of Detroit, and his last name was Cadillac.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, does make a lot of sense.
I mean, I didn't know the Cadillac was named after him, I guess.
I'll be honest with you, I just found that out a couple of years ago. I never knew that.
But it was said he was the founder of Detroit, and Anton Cadillac was said to have seen Nain Rouge, and that's the name of this little imp was Nain Rouge, and dismissed it, and despite of being warned about it, and soon he was arrested by the Canadian in Canada by the French governor for overstepping his authority, and banished back into the backwater colony of Louisiana, where he was soon kicked out of his governor position. And then Cadillac returned to France, where he became bankrupt and spent several months in the famous Bastille prison.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I know, right? Now, the infamous American General William Hull fared no better to the Nain Rouge tricks. Hull sighted the specter on a foggy morning during the War of 1812, just as Chef Tukamish was about to lay siege on the Detroit fort. Despite a sizable force inside the fort, Hull was convinced that he and his men were outnumbered and surrendered to the chief. It was Chief Tukamish, but they actually misspelled it in chef in the first part of it. That's funny. But the general surrendered to the chief without a shot being fired, and Hull was relieved of his command and later court-martialed in 1814 for treason, cowardice, and neglect of duty and misconduct, and was sentenced to death.
Yes.
He was spared hanging by President Madison. General William Hull remains the only U.S. general to be sentenced to death by an American court-martial.
Wow.
Yeah. So this Nain Rouge was blamed for all sorts of misfortune in and around Detroit. They include the Great Fire of 1805, which just about wiped out the city, the 1968 Detroit riots, and even the ice cream storm in the 70s. I didn't know about an ice storm. Ice storm in the 70s.
I think an ice cream storm would have been nice.
Ice cream storm.
I could eat my way out of that one.
So yeah, this little red devil looking imp was blamed for a lot of stuff.
Well, rouge means red. I mean, that's how you get Baton Rouge also, because it means red stick, which is on the banks of the river.
And guess what also runs through Detroit, which I'm sure this has named the Rouge River.
The Red River.
Yeah.
Red River.
Which is another river that I've been around. Pretty weird. It's pretty a lot of cool nostalgia. And did you know? And another thing about Detroit was the old Packard building. They built the Packard automobile.
Yeah.
And that was these big bulky cars, but in the day that was quote unquote before Cadillac, and they were the it car. Then Henry Ford came around and made more sleeker, nicer looking models, right? That people wanted to buy. So these big bulky cars at the Packard plant, they all of a sudden, if they were selling, let's say, I'll just throw out a number, 1 million a year, they dropped down to like 1,000. It was that's how much Ford crushed them. Henry Ford, right? Now, the Packard plant in Detroit, still upright, but very dilapidated. It covers 5 city blocks.
Wow.
And it's extreme, and it's reported haunted stories, because back, I guess, in the day, people working in the Packard factory would lose their hands, working on the automobile line. A lot of people died, because you got to remember back then, safety was not an issue. If you were an employee, who gives a rat's ass if you got killed?
We'll replace you tomorrow.
It was next man up,
Well, it was less paperwork and cheaper if you got killed.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
And this place was so big, and it was so big they could just, kick you aside into a hole and fill it in with dirt. Not call your wife. Uncle John has to come to work. I mean, that's how they operated way back then. We all know that.
Well, during the industrial age, whenever all this was just happening so fast, they were just expanding so fast. I mean, they were outgrowing themselves. I mean, that's why you got buildings like that, or 5 city blocks, or along the river. You got all these expansion, all these factories. I mean, so you imagine all the stuff that's happened there through the years.
Yep. So in this Packard plant, lots of really high strangeness, and also a hangout for a lot of criminal activity. You can revert back to you, Tex, and what you've been doing on Saturdays. A lot of dumpster murders. No one goes through there. No one goes through that. So, but yeah, a lot of where I live, again, the Great Lakes, these islands off the river. I mean, everything. And it's I was in a haunted restaurant in Mission Point, Traverse City, where it was a legend where you know how you have those dumb waiters, those bell waiters where people would pull it, the cord, and the thing would go up and down.
Right.
And I guess the man of this restaurant way back when murdered his wife and cut her up to pieces and stuck her in the dumb waiter and lowered her down to the chef's kitchen. You know, he goes in to grab some meat and he got human meat.
Oh my.
Yeah, very creepy. Very creepy.
So since we're talking about creepy stuff, and Indiana, right, Papa?
Indiana. I'm from Illinois, but Indiana's right there by me and Rob both.
Yeah.
But well, let's talk about Illinois. Let's talk about a little place called Chicago.
Oh, little place, the Windy City.
Chicago's got a lot of creepy stuff. I mean, they really do. It's because I think honestly, it's because I think there was a lot of bad energy from the mob. Because I mean, it was Chicago there for a while. It was murder capital. I mean, people were getting killed.
I mean, Chicago, you know, just like every major city, you know, it's big and it's easy to get lost in, you know, so you have all your people come there to try to hide or disappear, or you can make people disappear real easy out of a crowd like that. I mean, just like the Chicago Fair that they had, the expo. I mean, that guy had that building and he was luring young wanting to be models and actresses and people going to the fair into his apartment complex and murdering them, and nobody ever knew.
Oh, are you talking about when the first World's Fair, the first World's Fair?
Yeah.
That was H.H. Holmes.
Yeah,
and
the White Devil,
he had built that murder house is what it was deemed. He had built that specific
secret passages and hidden passageways between the walls so he can spy on people. And
well, there was a chute, and there were chutes that there was different ways that he could kill people in their rooms without ever being in the room. He could leak gas in the room and all kinds of stuff. There was a chute that was built that he could dump the bodies and they went straight down to the basement where he could burn them or whatever he wanted to do.
People still go. I think there's still the incinerator and stuff there at that building that he used.
There is it's no longer there, and what's in its place is a post office.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a documentary on that, and I think the incinerator opening is still there in the post office down in the basement, and it's haunted.
It may very well be. Now, and he did build a second murder house in Fort Worth, Texas. And a lot of people don't know that.
I mean, just like everything along the Great Lakes, I mean, like Rob mentioned, and you got the Native American lore, you know, all that going on. Then you got the industrial age and building up the cities, and like you said, the mobsters, all the killing there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a hot spot for all that activity.
But Illinois has got it's you got cryptids too. And a lot of people don't think about it. They don't think about, you know, Bigfoot. They don't think about cryptids when they talk about Illinois, because the first thing they start talking about is like we were talking about Chicago and its history and all that kind of stuff. But you got the pie-a-saw bird.
Yep.
And it's basically from what I understand, it lives on. It's the one that they painted big murals of on the cliff sides of above the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that one?
Yep.
but that's that one. And I think it's supposed to be basically a big thunderbird. But
Because in Illinois in the 1970s, there was Thunderbird sightings, or they were
right.
calling them Thunderbirds, great big giant. And the one story I always talk about is the one that hit the mainstream news, where a mother and child were at home, and the child was playing outside, and she was in the kitchen, doing dishes, whatever, watching her kid through the window. And this big shadow, came across a yard, and it turned out she could just barely see the big claws of a bird pick the kid up by the shoulders and start to lift it out. So she ran out there and literally had to beat the thing with a broom or something to have it drop the kid. Otherwise, they would have carried it off quite a ways, it sounded like. And that was all over the news on the radio and everything. I remember that when I was growing up.
And I think that's the one that we see so much that's depicted, that's kind of recreated with the kids running across a yard and it swoops down, picks him up, and yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, that the mother and the kid's grown up obviously now, and he tells a story that, and he's been on all these documentaries on the History Channel and Discovery and all this. And it's pretty well documented case.
Y'all are. I mean, I don't guess really you and Rob are really that far apart, are you?
Not really. I mean, I've been up by Rob's. We used to go up there in the summers. That my aunt had an 80-acre farm right there at Lowell, Michigan, right outside Grand Rapids.
Lowell, Michigan. Oh yeah, the Dogman hotspot.
Really?
Kent County, Michigan. It's south of Wexford, Michigan, which is, of course, Dogman capital in Michigan. So, yeah. And then a lot of the Dogman and Bigfoot encounters, alleged sightings, I should say. Yeah, very Lowell, Michigan. Mm-hmm, for sure.
That's where I used to spend the summers as a kid, going up there on the farm. Didn't know any of that was going on at the time, though.
Here's a funny thing, too, and we're going to revert back to your state of Illinois. This is back when I worked for Ford Motor Company. I was put on assignment to Illinois to help this one plant that was struggling. So they lodged me in Flat Rock, Illinois, not Flat Rock, Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford.
That's way north of you, correct? It's almost borderline.
It's about 2 hours north of me.
Okay, and that's close to Wisconsin border, right? Kind of. Well,
kind of. Yeah.
Well, I do. I know this, and I got to tell you something. That Rockford, a lot of woods. I thought this is well before I was interested in cryptids. I remember a lot of these freeways that I would drive, or routes, or state roads. I just thought they were spooky as all get out. I just got that feeling. This is really creepy. And I never had that feeling driving through Michigan. It was just creepy. And I will tell you this too. The people, like at a McDonald's that I'd stop in for lunch, very creepy. I mean, these people were just creepy. And I'm sorry to anybody that lives there. I shouldn't have made mention. I'm sure you're fine. I just found the town to be strange, almost like a Stephen King novel. But I met these guys at a Japanese steakhouse north of where I was staying in Rockford. I keep saying Flat Rock because that's by my house. Rockford. Went to this Japanese steakhouse. So good old BMR had one too many sakis. So when I leave, instead of going south, I proceed north. And it's pitch black. Now I end up, after a while, I see Wisconsin state lines. Yeah. Now, how I told you about driving through Rockford and through the woods was creepy. This part of Wisconsin was creepier. the deeper I got, and I'm kind of scared because I'm lost. And this is back in the day where there was not a, Google Maps. You had to figure out how to get back. And I was only about a month in Rockford, but now I'm in Wisconsin. But I got to tell you, I remember Tex, Gerald looking around. I finally realized I have to turn around, and driving back from either side of the tree line, you guys, I was seeing like what today I would call orbs. I saw yellowish, orangish, bluish things like fluttering right in the tree line, and it really creeped me out. And I stopped and pulled over because I had to go to the bathroom, because of the sake. And I'm kind of staring out into the woods. I'm like, this is just like not natural. And I really did feel like there's something going on here. What? Couldn't put my finger on. Wasn't into cryptids, not into UFOs. Get in my car, my truck. I think I had a truck back then, and continued back. But as soon as I got out of Wisconsin and back toward my area in Rockford, that heaviness I felt went away. I'm like, thank you, Lord. Because I tell you what, you guys, I was kind of scared because the woods really freaked me out. They typically don't in Michigan, to be honest. And I tell you what, so I wanted to ask you if you've ever been through Rockford, because I find it to be very creepy.
Yeah, my relatives on my mom's side are Swedish, and there's a big, heavy community of Swedish people in Rockford. So we used to go there when we were kids too, up around Rockford. And in the 90s, when I was working at the milk plant. What's that?
I love their meatballs.
In the 90s, I got sent up to Wisconsin to Black Lake, and it's up at the northern part of Wisconsin. So I had to go up that interstate, and the medium is full of trees, and the two outsides are full of trees. So no matter where you went, it was completely dark, and there was always trees, and there was always animals, and like you never knew what you were going to. And we made that run, nonstop through the middle of the night to get back home and to get up there. So that's definitely creepy up there in the northern part of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Hi, Rochelle.
Rochelle.
She is Rochelle. If y'all don't know Rochelle, y'all need to go over her channel. She does paranormal investigations, and just absolute sweetheart. I mean, she just y'all go see her. Y'all go see her. We're gonna have her on the show pretty soon.
So next Tuesday, I'm going to Rockford, actually, myself. I have to take my daughter up for an appointment, so I'm going to go with and take her up there. So we'll be in Rockford next Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to do while she's in her appointment.
Well, I can tell you exactly what to do in Rockford because it's not that big of a town. You got to go to the Tiger Tail.
The Tiger Tail.
That's all I'm going to say.
Got a tiger by the tail.
I'm sure Jane's upstairs listening to this conversation.
Yeah, hey Jane, it's okay. It's not bad at all. They've got good eats there, Jane.
The wings are fantastic, and they got great articles on the wall to read.
It's very convenient too. It's very convenient because it's connected to the Holiday Inn.
I want to ask y'all. I want to.
Don't have to drive.
Have y'all ever heard of the infield horror? It's a cryptid that is out of Illinois. It's Southeastern Illinois.
The infield horror.
Infield horror. And okay, so here it is. In the 1940s, it was a leaping simian-esque thing. It was spotted in Mount Vernon in the 1970s. It is rumored to have 3 legs, his eyes as bright as a flashlight. But it was seen by several young boys, and they were like on the same night. And then later, it was cited by a local radio news director. The rumors are it was an escaped chemistry experiment. Some say it was an alien. Lauren Coleman actually investigated at the time, and it said some saw it said it made quite a stir and not so much now, but some saw he said some saw a deformed kangaroo. But he thought of it as a variation of an ape. So I thought that was really strange.
Yeah, I remember hearing about, I mean, I don't remember it as a kid or anything or hearing the stories, but here recently, like Jessica, the cryptid huntress, just had a thing on it not too long ago when she went down south to a conference. They were right there in Illinois, southern tip of Illinois.
Well, you know, I like to ask you too, Mid. We might be getting a little late because I think we got to take a break in a minute, but the Moth Man phenomena. Have you been to Chicago or even more where you live about Moth Man? Because I like to, because I guess Moth Man, for some reason, you know, we all know about West Virginia and this at the bridge, but Moth Man is prevalent in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's actually a lot of sightings that's still going on. There's sightings all the time, and they actually dedicated one of those Google Maps to Mothman sightings, so you can actually track them and read all the stories of where it's happened in Chicago. And it's actually venturing out of Chicago now, out past the suburbs even. And it's anywhere from gargoyle looking to Mothman to Batman, however you want to describe it, and they're all basically the same, but some of them are taller than other ones. I don't know how much more time we have till break.
Well, probably got to take it, but I want to hear more about that. And I also have a Mothman story from Chicago that I'll share a little later when we come back, after we hear about your, you know, what you have to say. So,
all right.
Oh, it is that time, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was kind of
see what happens on my drive. We get lost.
I was giving you a clue, Tex.
Yeah, well, you know,
I know.
I don't take hints real well. You got to slap me over the head.
Nobody has Brandy's bell or anything. Nobody.
Yeah.
Right. All right, we'll be back.
got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hey, and we're back, folks.
And we're back.
Man, I got to tell you, I really dig that last movie.
Ah,
I just,
yeah.
man,
I just kicked back,
and it's an appropriate freaking name. I love it. It's called Beerbelly Blues.
Yeah. I play a little air guitar during this. I always have to make sure I get back for the last minute to hear that riff.
I'm doing the whole Stevie Wonder thing the whole time I'm listening to it, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably
Very
the best
nice.
one you've made so far.
Yeah,
I like you think so? Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, I tried to get music that was, because the girls, they like creepy music. I mean, you know, so I tried to get music that would kind of fit every show, you know.
Yeah, in fact, I like the 5-minute break. That I don't know if you use it on yours as well as my show, but all those riffs are pretty all good with the guitar. So I know we're all our breaks are a little different, but the music.
But yeah,
is
and
good.
I'm in the process of making.
Oh, Papa G.
Oh, yeah.
Making them one.
Yeah.
So
that'd be awesome.
So I got so many damn irons in the fire right now. It's
That's kind of like me, you know, since I retired, I think I'm busier now than I was, because I'm getting home projects done, and me and Jane's always doing something during the day. And people are asking me to make them thumbnails and doing thumbnails for our show. And it's like, oh my gosh, I think I had more rest when I was just working and going there for 8 hours and not worrying about anything.
Right. Yeah, my wife always gets on me, and I don't, because I don't know how to tell people no. You know? Yeah, and it's like, you know, when we're doing stuff like this, and I've had people, you know, ask me to make stuff for them, and what I owe you, you don't owe me nothing. You know, I mean, we need to help each other out, you know. And this is what it's all about, brother. You know.
Oh yeah.
Or I like to think it is, anyway.
Right. The last thumbnail I just made was from our Sunday show with Jesus Payon from Breaking Bad, and he actually, I made it a Breaking Bad theme because I got the mobile home that they made meth out of and everything on there, and I put a Bigfoot on the side of it. He actually made it his cover page on his Facebook. That was pretty cool.
Oh, cool! That's awesome, man. Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. I've talked to him several times, and I've been able to meet him in person. Oh, hello, Wendy. but yeah, it's interesting because so many people out there, for some reason, they just, I don't know, man, they like covet this crap. And it's like, come on, man. We're all on the same team. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not like if you, subscribe to BMR, or you can't subscribe to Midnight, what,
Man,
Yeah.
there's plenty of clicks to go around for everybody,
there's a lot for everybody. I looked up something the other day. People think there's a million YouTube channels. No. There's like a billion.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just finding what you like and tuning in. And
That
I
was
don't
the
know.
best
I would
thing
bet
that
that
came out of
I bet there's
pandemic.
100,000 Bigfoot channels, at least.
Probably. I come across new ones all the time that I never even heard of. But
Like I said, that was the best thing that came out of the pandemic was everybody was at home and bored, and they started looking up all these channels and looking into their interests, and the people weren't afraid anymore because they were at home behind a screen and they could talk about their experiences, and they even started podcasts like we did. We were watching all you guys and thought, man, that looks like fun. I'd like to try that. So we just started dipping our toes in it a little bit, and here we
That
are.
looks like fun and no work. Let's do that.
yeah, well, you find out. Well, the thing is, it is fun first and foremost. But it is. But you'll find out, as you find out already now, Gerald, that it is to do something quality. You have to put some work into it. So, but like you said, though, if this wasn't fun, I wouldn't bother doing this.
Oh,
I wouldn't
if
bother.
it ever quits being fun, I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're having a blast. We just love talking to everybody and like being in your guys' chat, getting to know everybody in chat, and all the guests we have on, you start getting to know them and talking to them all the time. Well, heck, Cindy, you guys had Cindy Goodbreak on your show, and then I got a hold of her through you guys, and then she actually came and stayed at her house, stayed overnight.
Yeah, good person.
Sounds like Cindy.
Yeah, pretty much.
She is a sweetheart. She really is. I actually, I've got to spend some time out in the field with her, and she was all nervous and scared about going to Brown Springs. She had been once, and it got kind of spooked, and she was all nervous about coming back, and I reassured her, it's, we're going to take care of you, and you're safe. And she came out. She had a great time. She spent like 2 or 3 nights out there with us, and we had a great time. We had a great time, so.
Yep, it was fantastic.
Yeah, she's got some weird stuff going on in her up in her camp. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we talked about it all night long. Jane and her stayed up till 4 a.m.
I will say this about Cindy: that gal can talk.
She
just line her up and let her go.
Which is always great when you have her on the show, right, Tex?
Oh, absolutely! I love
had her on, and me and Tex sat back, and
it's almost like taking a night off on the show.
It's like having the night off.
Yeah. Introduce her, and there you go.
Throw out a question or two, and kick back and listen.
Yeah.
And she, when I set up her interview, she goes, "Okay, I can do it between 10 and 12 or something like that." I said, "All right." So I scheduled it, then she just kept going and going. It's like, I thought we, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I thought we had to stop at a certain time. She goes, "Oh no, we can keep going."
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if Tex, you probably remember. She was on, I think, my show, and she was, I think, in Idaho at this time. This is not too long ago. It was on the night show, the BMR night show. And so she's outside, and it's all daylight, right, throughout the show. Then it started getting darker.
Oh yeah,
and darker. It got so dark during the show that all you could see were her pupils of her eyes, the whites of her eyes. That's when we decided to cut it, because she would have kept going, but all you could see was like the slits of her eyes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a sweetheart, and she'd do anything in the world for you. Yeah. Anything in the world for you. She you know, because she's from up north, but she has ties down here in Texas too. So every once
Yes.
in a while she'll come down through here and we'll get together. She had and she said she's going to do it again. She hosted a lunch, and we went out to a restaurant. I think it was the Jalapeno Tree we went to, and
Mhm.
a bunch of us met over there and had lunch. And I think just about everybody from the porch at that time showed up, and the Keith Crabtree was there, and oh man, that's just golly, I can't remember everybody was there. This is a whole shit. I got to meet a bunch of people, bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good time. I got a group picture of it and everything.
Yeah,
But
she's out there by you now in Texas somewhere. I think on the family place.
yeah, yeah, she's not too far. She's I think if I remember right, she's she's over in East Texas right now. If I think, but yep.
Yep. So she's already planning next year to come to stay a weekend or something at our place. She wants to go out on some trails and stuff around here.
Nice.
Well, that will definitely be, as Tex would say, a hoot.
Yeah, yeah, it will be.
Hell yeah. It'll be
You
nonstop
know,
the whole weekend, I'm assuming.
for sure. I guess at the end of the last break, we're talking about what have you, where you live in Illinois, of course, that's Moth Man, right? What
Yep.
have you heard about in your parts about the Moth Man? Because I know that I have a story I'll tell after you, but Illinois, Chicago, and again, we all heard the original story out of, I think it was West Virginia, at that the bridge that went down with all those with carloads on the bridge, right? It was like a harbinger of doom, I guess, is what they refer to the Mothman as. But what have you heard or experienced in your part of Illinois, if anything?
Now, around us, we haven't really had any sightings of Mothman, but people definitely talk about it. You know, you hear little bits about it here and there, but it's mainly up in Chicago for some reason, or at least starting to go out into the suburbs. I think it's even hit maybe even Rockford, what we were talking about earlier. There's been a few sightings here and there. And I'm not really sure how the Mothman became prevalent in Chicago. But like I was saying before break, there's all kinds of reports. And they have that Google map where you can look up each incident and when it was reported. And it keeps growing all the time. And it's everything from gargoyles to imps to bat looking man to Mothman. I mean, it's just all kinds of reports.
Yep. And I will tell you, I got a pretty cool story about the Mothman. I don't know if I've ever told this before. I think I might have. But of course, this is the only Mothman story in my book. By the way, Bigfoot Michigan Rock presents True Cryptid Encounters, book one. You can find that on Amazon. Just you can type Bigfoot Michigan Rock in the Amazon link if you like, and it will pull up. But this story is in the book. And I got this story. I think it took place in 2019. It was in Chicago, and this husband and wife were planning a party, and they were going to pick up their party goers downtown Chicago. But what they were going to do is take their boat along the Lake Michigan shoreline into downtown Chicago. Now, as you probably know, there's a lot of expansive water that goes right through downtown. You can see downtown from Lake Erie, right? Or no, Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan.
Well, yeah, Lake Michigan. We're talking about all the Great Lakes there. Yeah, Lake Michigan, of course. So they packed up there. They had like a 37-foot Sea Ray boat, nice boat. I think and it was 4th of July. They were going to have fireworks off on the boat, and it could sleep like 6 people, 8 people comfortably. So they were going to pick up their guests, and they were going to go out, watch fireworks, and spend the night and party all night, right? So they get up, they hit the Great Lake, they hit Lake Michigan, and they know where their destination is. So there were certain stopping points where they were going to go across Lake Michigan. So they had, hit stopping point A, and they picked up a couple. They aborted the vessel, went up another couple miles, picked up another group. Now, this other group was going to be actually physically downtown, but there was a section where you would allow big craft to get up into the harbor or a bay or a marina, right? That was right downtown, off of downtown. So they're getting close to this marina, and there's there's a bridge that they have to go under. Now, this bridge is pretty expansive. Their boat could fit under it without a problem. And in fact, under the bridge, there's a lot of traffic is over this bridge. And when you get to the other side of the bridge, it gets to a section of downtown with the tall sky rises, and they had maneuvered around to the marina. So there's about three couples on the boat, and they get to the bridge where they're going to go underneath the bridge. They proceed underneath the bridge, and all of a sudden, at the end of the bridge, as they look, there's something kind of hanging down, and it looked like a huge bat. But it was such a big bat where they couldn't get past it because it covered the other end of the tunnel of the bridge on the other side. And they said it had like red eyes, and it had these wings expanded, and it was just kind of hanging there. It had legs hanging and everything. They're like, what are we looking at here? So obviously they can't get past this thing. So they spin, they turn around. Again, it's big enough for the boats to go under and travel through. So the guy driving the boat turns the boat around, goes back out to the other end to get out of there. So now he turns around away from this big, gigantic bat. Now, of course, the story is Moth Man, but he calls it in the story a big, huge bat. So he turns around the boat, goes to the other end of this tunnel. Prior to exiting, this creature, this Mothman, now I guess flies. He gets to the other side and blocks them from getting out. Now, what is going on here? This thing, whatever this is, now they're all scared. This creature of some sort is playing games. So now, what does the guy do? Stops his vessel, turns it around, and go to the other side. So guess what happens on the other side? There, this thing is hanging out. Well, this guy, he's petrified. Now, this went on to do all this maneuvering and such. He says like 12, 15 minutes go by, and he says, screw it. He opens his throttle, and he beelines right toward this gigantic bat creature, Mothman creature. He's going to run through it. He says, Rob, I'm like 8-10 feet before hitting it, and it dematerializes, it evaporates.
Oh.
He passes out underneath, but now listen, but he loses control of the boat because he's now, first of all, he was petrified from seeing this creature, but now how it just disappeared, he gets really scared. And as I made mention, on the other side is like downtown Chicago. Well, he loses it. I have to admit from the beginning, he'd been drinking this whole time, from the morning till picking up all his guests. He loses control of the boat, and he hits a ramp, and he speeds up, and the boat lands on the freeway.
Oh, my gosh.
A freeway at Chicago. Now, when I got this story, I looked this up, and it's in the Chicago Tribune. Man on boat. Launches into freeway. So I did check it out, okay? So this guy, boom, lands on the freeway. Everybody's okay. Minor injuries. He gets arrested. He's in the hospital for drunk driving of a boat, and he gets clasped to the hospital. And he says, when you get out, you're going to jail for intoxication and reckless commandeering of a vessel, and he had a whole bunch of trouble. So yeah, he wrote in this story, he goes, man, the Mothman cost me about 10 years of driving, my job.
Oh, man.
I made the Chicago Tribune. Well, no one knew it was him. They said alleged man, yada yada. You know how that goes,
right?
And yeah, and then he's like telling me, "What do you think this was?" I said, "Well, you described it as a big bat. I mean, I wasn't there to see it. And then I was thinking to myself in my head, well, the Mothman kind of resembles a bat, according to some people, right? And Chicago. And Chicago, the Mothman, you can see the Mothman. I can't see it personally. I've heard stories of the Mothman, the Sears Tower in Chicago,
Right.
where they'd be hanging off of the tower, where you could see something way up there. So I said, man, if I had to guess, I guess I'd say Mothman. So that was it, that guy's story. And I got to tell you, downtown Chicago, to me, a cryptid doesn't show up downtown, right? But he was under that old bridge, so they could be anywhere. So I thought that was a really cool story. So
that is.
And well, really though, and the thing that I loved about it is I looked up in the newspaper online and found about jettisons on freeway, close. So that kind of gave me a good sense that that part was truthful. Now, how that happened, maybe he told the police he saw some.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him crashing the boat on the freeway, you probably wouldn't have had collaboration on it.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
That's weird that the Mothman, spotted by the airport was, I think, the first sighting, or the one everybody talks about. That was there at O'Hare. But I don't know if any of the flights were grounded or anything necessarily happened. I think lightning hit a plane, maybe. I think that was the story. But if you look at all these individual stories, there's like downtown, right in the middle of town in the alleys, behind dumpsters and stuff, they say these red-eyed looking winged creatures come out and, scare people and stuff, but nothing that I know of has actually hurt anybody from all these encounters. I don't think so.
Right.
They're just being spotted.
Yep. So. Yeah, James. Thank you, James, for that. I remember you inquired about that several months ago. So yeah, that's the follow-up to that.
Speaking of Chicago, you're talking about Lake Michigan and the waterways. Right there on the Chicago River, they had the Eastland disaster. Did you guys ever hear about that? The big factory right there on the Chicago River, right downtown. And they got that Chicago River going through, and the factory was going to take, in I think it was 1915 in July, they were taking all their employees across the river to celebrate like a family day or 4th of July kind of deal. And they had so many people get on the ferry that it capsized once they took off from the dock. And 844 people died. And it's supposed to be the biggest marine accident in the U.S. history. Right there in Chicago River. So there's also a lot of ghost stories and paranormal stuff going on right there at Chicago Riverside, especially right where that event happened. There's quite a few hauntings.
Well, we were talking about H.H. Holmes earlier, and that documentary that I think me and you may have seen that. And I think we're talking about the same one where it's.
I read the book about it.
Oh, okay. Well, the documentary that this came out of, and I'm fixing to talk about, was the one that his great grandson or his grandson, his great grandson was saying that, was writing it or whatever, or in the documentary with the what was she, ex-CIA or ex-FBI agent or something, but they had said that he owned a bunch of stuff there on the Chicago River, and like, what was it, a cement plant or something like that, and where he had dumped a bunch of stuff there just off of in the river, but in the Detroit River, whatever it is, but they couldn't drag it up because of legalities or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, really? You're taking crap out of the river, and they're not going to let you do.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, evidently to remove anything out of the river, junk or otherwise, you got to have all kinds of freaking crazy permits.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was just
it's all red tape.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, if you got somebody who wants to pull a bunch of junk out of the damn river, let them pull it out of the river.
Let them do it.
You know, they're doing your job for you, cleaning up your city. But
I mean, there's even hauntings, you know, with you were talking about mobs earlier, you know, Al Capone and all that stuff. There's hauntings with that going on. You know, there's like phantom old Model Ts or whatever, you know, and machine gun fire people are hearing, and there's victims that have been killed by them innocent ones that are still roaming supposedly.
Well, I mean, look at the you know, the Valentine's Day massacre.
Right.
You know,
Bloody Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Lined them up against the wall and killed them all. Just shot them.
Yeah. Emptied a bunch, you know, machine guns and shotguns in them. And I mean, because they got them, and the way they is they pretended to be cops, and they were lining them up and they just killed them, flat out killed them. But yeah, that was cold blooded right there. But,
yeah, I mean,
and actually, one of the most violent like mob guys came out of Chicago. I can't remember. It wasn't Capone. Actually, it was another guy later, like in the 60s or 70s. But
well, these hitmen or whatever, the enforcers or whatever you want to call them, they grew up during these times, and a lot of them were brought in by the families, you know, because once you're a made man or once you're in the mob, I mean, you had the life of luxury until the bad stuff goes down and you get caught or whatever, you know, or till you get a hit put on you. But yeah, there's several of them that came up through Chicago, just as well as New York or any other big cities. But mainly Chicago had, like you were talking about, he was well known for killing. And he was one of those guys you don't really, you know, that you didn't really know until after the fact, you know, later on in the years you found out who it was. But he was the one that always did all the bad stuff.
Now, you know, we're talking about Chicago and well, Illinois and Michigan, and now let's throw a little bit of Texan stuff in here for real quick.
Yes,
because I'm gonna do y'all a favor. I got a special treat. As soon as I can figure how to bring it up, there we go. I don't have as many encounters on my channel as Mr. Write an encounter book there, Rob. But I do have a few. And this one comes out of East Texas. And it's called Old Three Toes. And it's one of my favorites that I've ever had. This is growing up around Texarkana, we were always hearing about Bigfoot, monsters and such. We were always told that if we stayed out after dark, that they were, you know, we were bad youngins and we'd be snatched up by old three-toed devil or something like that. And the stories, they was to keep us in line to a point, but and they kind of did. But when we got up around 14 or so, and we'd be out fishing, hunting, and we'd crack jokes about it, you know, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't still have those stories on my mind. It didn't do no good that we hear new ones about somebody getting some stock grabbed up or somebody seeing some prints or even seeing the critter itself. But anyways, like I said, we about half believed all the talk, and it was enough to get you a little spooked if you heard some weird noises down in the bottoms. And I can tell you now that I don't half believe anymore. I've seen the critter with my own eyes more than once. I guess I was near on 15 the first time I crossed paths with him, and me and my eldest brother, we'd set out for a day or so and running some jug lines, and you know, we weren't doing half bad. It was second night, and we were running some lines and in our old John boat, and old fog rolled in, and we figured that we'd head back to camp and run the rest of the morning. we were just sliding there up to the shore, and we heard some splashing and carrying on a ways up, upstream from us. You know, when we heard the splashing and stuff, we heard some grunts and what sounded something like slapping the water or the mud. And it's hard to figure the distance on the sound across water, especially when, it's being foggy and such. But my brother shushed me. He's like, shh. He pointed up to the camp. And we both had pistols on us. I just had a little 22, but he had a 9mm. And we made our way up the bank and was trying to tie the boat up to the, and the commotion had quieted down. So we just heard some sloshing around, maybe a few grunts, and it sounded like a horse blowing. So we stoked up the fire and we tried to settle in and made some coffee. And at some point, all the noise had stopped. We talked about it and pretty much convinced ourselves that somebody's horse had wandered down to get a drink, and we hit the sack and planned on, hitting the lines and doing some more fishing tomorrow. And when we crawled out of our racks, it was just after first light. We made some coffee and ate a bite and jumped in the boat. We had a good run, 6 or 7 out of the 10, lines we had fish on them. One of them had a loggerhead, so we just cut him loose, and we don't mess with him. Damned old dinosaurs anyway. And I don't know. I never cared for them to eat. You can eat them, but I never cared for them. Too much trouble. We decided to head back to the house and cook up our catch and, meet family after church and everything. We made our way back and packed up camp. Well, we were just about to head back home, and my brother said, hey, he says, let's go up and see if we can find any sign of what was raising that ruckus last night. All right, sure, let's go. So we walked up the bank looking for signs about 50 yards up, and we ran into some prints in the mud. Now, these prints were about half again bigger than my brother's boot, and he wore a size 12. But the left one only had 3 toes on it, but the right one had 5. There was a bunch of them going all which way and all over, top of each other and going in and out of the water and up on the bank. We found what was left of an old big carp had been tore apart and about half eaten. We couldn't find where it had gone up into the trees, so we figured it just walked down the creek and headed downstream or, further upstream. We'd never heard anything, but it could have slipped by us, we hit the bed, pretty early. We made it back to the boat and we headed back to the house. We told everybody what had happened, and Mama was being all her normal worrying self, but Pop, he didn't act surprised at all. He just said, well, you boys watch yourself and you keep them guns close, It ain't going to hurt to leave all 3 toes of fish when y'all leave out. And that's just what we did ever since, And I run across him one more time. I guess I really didn't see him the first time. The second time I was a little bit older, and I was out by myself and I was doing some fishing. And I heard some rumbling around in the trees, carrying on, and a couple of branches breaking. And I figured, had some pigs around me or something like that. I didn't feel like much messing around with no pigs, and, they're just going to disturb my fishing anyway. So I just moved on downriver a little bit and going to try my luck there. And there was a little slough, and I had to go around it, cut back in on the backside of it. And I caught something in the corner of my eye kind of moving in the trees. And when I looked a little closer, I saw it start to play peekaboo with me around an old stump. And I hollered at him, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But when I hollered at him, he stood up and he run off. He was probably ever been again twice the size as I was. And I was a fair-sized kid, 6 foot, 200 pounds. But this big old critter, man, he run off in the opposite direction that I needed to get back to the house, and I decided just to wrap it up and get back. When I got back and I told Daddy what about, he said the same damn thing. You stay out of their way and they'll stay out of yours. And anyway, there it is. Story out of East Texas.
Wow.
That's
weird. You mentioned 3-toed when we were talking about 3 toes in Illinois.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of talk about 3 toes in East Texas, Sometimes it'd be both feet, sometimes it'd be, 1 foot. Some of the tracks, they'll look like they were injured or deformed, But some of it's weird. It's like it was born that way. I mean, but it'll be both feet. So I don't know. And they're long toes too, normally on these 3-toed critters.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The ones I've seen anyway.
I've heard some people talking about, maybe not what this story was about, but have you heard this too, Tex? Maybe you too, Papa? 3-toed gugwe. I heard that some gugwe leave 3-toed tracks, which are kind of long, but at the end of their flanges from the toes, you would see like claw marks as well. Have you heard that, Tex, about that cryptid or that?
I've heard Duke talk about it. And gugways, they have a tendency to be, what is it, 3-toed and 6-toed, I think it is, or something like that. More so than what we talk about Bigfoot being and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
And the dog man print is typically at least 4, or like a wolf with a pad, but an oversized wolf's print, I guess, right? But those are typically, though, 4 fingers or flanges, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
More commonly, I should say.
And it's weird because when you get into the reptilians or reptiles, you think of them having three also.
Yeah, alligator.
Well, that picture that come out of Germany, and we don't really know what the hell it is, but it's got to be this long, and it's got 3 huge claws, and it looks almost like a freaking raptor track or something. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's in the snow. It's in the snow. If y'all hadn't noticed, I ain't wearing a bandana. I went and put a bandana on.
Ah.
Here you go, Tex.
All right.
So we got the best of both worlds going on.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
I think thunderbirds and pterodactyls are 3-toed too, aren't they? Or maybe they have some little side claws also, but they got 3 coming out the front.
Yeah. From what I think
I even think like vultures, 3-toed, eagles, even,
Yeah, so I mean that's weird. Number 3 shows up in all this stuff.
Well, I mean, you even got 3-toed sloth. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's weird when you type in 3-toed animals. It's the sloth is the only thing that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, the animal, yeah.
3-toed animal tracks.
Yeah, you probably have to separate it into reptile.
They're probably thinking mammal. They're probably thinking animal as mammal, or reptile would probably be 3-toed.
Yeah, we were talking about the rivers. There's all the waterways. Like even in Illinois, right past Starved Rock, there's been talk of serpents, and I would think even the Missouri and the Mississippi, they all have their tales of the serpents and stuff, because we were talking about that earlier. And it's weird, you get all these little waterways. So I mean, where are they coming from? Are they coming from the Great Lakes, or are they just are they originating from the area they're spotted in? I wonder.
I got to tell you, you guys both spurred me on something from way earlier in the show. I don't do as much on the Great Lakes as really I should to look around.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Little gab there.
Yeah.
So birds have 4 digits. Okay. But they're configured in different ways. You have the 3 toes that are out like this and the one in the back.
Right.
Sometimes you have them like they're in an X pattern, and they'll be like this with one in the back, And
Yeah,
then
so they'll have their main toes
yeah,
or whatever you want to call them, and then they have a spur coming out the back.
yeah. It's almost like an opposable thumb on the back, But the hallux is what hallux.
Yeah, but when you talk about the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan and Ontario and all them, and obviously everybody thinks about the song, the Edmund Fitzgerald, going down, but there are so many, like you mentioned before, Rob, all the shipwrecks and planes that go down in all the Great Lakes, and you have the triangle. I mean, you bring that up, that's enough alone, let alone bringing up the cryptids and the paranormal. And
well, they say Lake Superior's got a lot of ghostly shipwrecks. Many
also ghost ships.
But Lake Michigan is by far the most dangerous of all the Great Lakes to have a vessel on. It is more treacherous than Lake Superior. But Lake Superior is known for just, like you said, ghostly, mysterious wrecks of vessels, right? Where Lake Michigan, we've had planes fly into it right over that triangle. And it encompasses the southern part from Chicago all the way north to the top of Illinois.
So
the outer edge.
There are over 6,000 shipwrecks in the Great Lakes as a whole, dating back as far as the 17th century.
Yeah, that's something, eh?
Yeah, they haven't found all of them. I mean, that's what's weird about it.
Yeah, that's just the ones they know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I went salmon fishing on Lake Michigan back in the 90s. We rented a charter boat and went out. And I'll tell you what, we got out so far away from shore that you did not know you were on a lake. I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
But then it started getting choppy and stormy, the longer we were out there. So we had to hurry up and get back in, we were getting some big waves coming.
On Lake Erie, they've had 8, 9, 12-foot waves would roll in. I don't have time to tell this story, but I was on the Great Lakes on Lake Erie going to the Detroit River late at night, and we had experienced time loss where we ended up where we were supposed to be. We were 27 miles south and 3 hours off course and had no idea where we ended up. No idea. Yeah.
And there's reports of the green haze or fog rolling in, not just normal fog, as they say. There was something eerie about it, almost like there was an electrical storm in it also.
Oh yeah.
That's some weird stuff. I don't know. That'd be a good book too, all the wrecks and paranormal off of the Great Lakes.
It's definitely something to tap into. And of course the lighthouses.
Lighthouses there.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's always light keepers that go missing or people wreck on the edges of the thing, and whether the lighthouse was working or not working or abandoned, there's all that kind of stuff in dealing with those stories.
There's a story about a lighthouse off Lake Erie that's it's out into Lake Erie. It's out there, so it's not one that was ever kept, but the light would always be on. And there's a bell up there, which you could hear the wind would ring it. But there was stories about the light finally went out after decades, just burnt out, and nobody went to, the maritime people did not bother to go out and fix it. They just figured, whatever. And there's times people say it would just come on out of nowhere at night and just come on and shut off. So, but to me though, that's kind of, I don't agree with maritime people not fixing that because that's sitting in the lake.
Right.
And if you don't have if you're at night and have crappy lights on your boat, you could hit that. So who knows? Maybe it just turns on to, I don't know.
I mean, there's all kinds of ghostly stories like that where people talk about the light comes on and saved them from wrecking against the shore. And people talk, well, that lighthouse hasn't been operated in however many years. Or
yeah, I wonder why they decommission lighthouses. I mean, how are they not needed anymore?
electronics and technology.
Yeah, but not everybody's got that kind of stuff. Not everybody's got radar on their boat, you know. But I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, but I don't know. I'm kind of with Rob. It still serves a purpose.
It would be nice to have, I would think.
Sure does. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like, come on. You know, the reason that I got lost on this one trip we took was we looked for the Detroit light. When you hit the Detroit light coming back from Ohio, where we were coming from, now you know that you're supposed to travel due southeast. That's when you hit the light. So at night, we're looking for the light, you guys, and we never found the light. It was not there. And we looked on the map, looked on the compass, so we should have been right around it. Never seen it. Ever, did not see it at all. Now, did it go out and we missed it? Perhaps. But it doesn't account for us being like, you know, way off course either, though.
Right.
So I don't know. It's very strange. The moon, you know, and it was a very cloudy night. Couldn't see the moon. You know, on the boat we were on had an okay light, but it was, yeah, it was kind of creepy. We thought we were.
Reminds me of my fishing trip, the one and only fishing trip on Lake Kentucky. We went and stayed with a friend that I worked with. We had about 5 or 6 of us go, and we crashed his dad's place right off of Lake Kentucky, and he had a little old cabin looking trailer there. And me and my friend got up early in the morning before everybody else. We thought, okay, we're gonna start fishing before everybody else, you know. So we docked. We went off of the dock into the water. And when it started getting lighter out, there was such a thick haze on that Kentucky lake that we could not see anywhere where shore was or nothing anymore. So we just kind of started slowly getting closer to where we thought shore was, to bump up against it, you know, and kind of go back out a little bit and try to follow it around until daybreak. The sun came out and finally started burning all that off. And we were way off course where we thought we were by the time we got done. And of course, you know, that's right by the LBL. So,
you know, and it's, I don't think people realize how easy it is to get turned around or lost on water, because even this, and I guess I'll call them smaller lakes down here in Texas. I mean, compared to the Great Lakes, you know, I mean, once you can see all the way across, I've been with people and you know, you go across the lake and you're going back across, or you're going across to find a spot. And it's like, you know, things look different from the water.
Yeah.
You know, and you get turned around and you miss your place and you start looking.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Lily. Yeah, Danielle's doing a lot better. She's at home. She'll be back next week, tentatively. I told her she needs to rest, but she's a little hard-headed, and I think she's going stir crazy. But she actually recorded the show for tomorrow. So, but I don't think people, if you've never had to navigate on the water, it's a lot different than navigating on the land as far as line of sight things go.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
You have to, if you don't have line of sight, to rely on a compass is, no, I mean, now we got GPS, the whole 9 yards, but back in the day when you had to rely on a compass or even a sextant, you know, with these bigger ships, and, you know, that's how they navigated out in the oceans and stuff. And I would imagine even on Great Lakes, they used them back in the day.
Even like us on Kentucky Lake, you know, we're in a small fishing boat. It's dark. Yeah. We're in water, so obviously you can drown, you can wreck. You know, you have no electronics to go by. It's dark out. Then you got fog once the dark starts lifting a little bit. And it's like, man, it was like a losing proposition from the very get-go.
Yeah. Like I was talking with Tex the other night. We were on our show. We were talking about something, and if I was to blindfold somebody, put them on a rowboat, and put it in the middle of any of the Great Lakes, and you took off the blindfold,
Mm-hmm.
and you looked around, you could swear you were on the ocean.
Oh yeah.
Because there's sections of the Great Lakes for miles and miles and miles before you even see land. That's how vast.
Hey, I just saw a Griff put out there that D.A. Roberts is ill, and
Yeah, I saw his
y'all
post
send your
tonight.
prayers out there to him.
Right.
I hope you get better. I hope you get better soon, brother.
Yep.
Really do.
Yeah, he posted about it on his personal page tonight.
Oh yeah, what's wrong with him? Do we know?
Congestive heart failure, but he's in the hospital for tests, and he's doing pretty good at the moment.
Okay.
So I don't know what all past that. That's about all he put out there.
I hate to hear that. It's what got my mother.
Yeah.
That stuff will sneak up on you. But yeah, I can't imagine these when you start talking about navigating the seas and everything. I mean, especially when you were going up like the Titanic. I mean, you had to navigate not only the direction you were going, but look at all the stuff you had to look out for. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about the early explorers when they're out there in their ships with all they had was a sextant or something, and not only did they, the reports of sea monsters, but then you have the cryptids on shore. So no matter where you went, there was danger for them even, and they didn't have all the electronics and stuff that we have.
No, they were just pretty much just
night sky and
driven by the wind almost.
Yeah.
It's like Stingray says, they used to navigate the river with nothing but channel markers. We were out on a Lake Palestine not too long ago. Well, I can say that's a year or so ago, and we had won a boat rental, like a 6-hour boat rental, 4-hour boat rental. So we took this. It was just a little pontoon boat, and I'll take, my wife and my youngest daughter and my son-in-law. I said, well, we'll just go out and do some catfishing, and get on this thing. It didn't have a damn GPS. It didn't have a compass on it. And shit. Depth finder didn't have nothing on it, And I'm like, all right, this is going to be fun. So I get us out there, and what I wanted to do was locate the channel. Well, I did manage to find a topographical map of the lake, so I did have that. And of course, you got GPS, because you don't always want to rely on GPS, but we had to. So we're going out there, and the way I located the exact channel where it dropped off was I went really old school. I started checking with the anchor rope, and counting feet. Of course, they count fathoms, and if you don't know, a fathom is 6 feet. But and I and my son-in-law dropping the anchor and then counting how many times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, here we are, and went across it and found it, how it went down and went back up. I said, okay, we're going to fish right here. And hooked into, sounding. Thank you. It's, and I hooked into a damn catfish that was probably 15, 20 pounds. And they were like, holy crap. I was like, well, it's where they said they were biting, right on the channel, right on the side of the channel, the drop off. I said, here we are, So it made me look like a genius.
Have you guys ever heard of the catfish down beneath the dams, how big they are? They're almost like a cryptid themselves now.
I've heard of catfish getting, I tell you what, monstrous.
Yeah, as big as full-size Cadillacs.
No, they do not get that big.
Oh, yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Well, they get as wide as a Volkswagen.
No, they don't.
Do you go, what do you call that, Tex? When you go and grab them with your hands? What's that strategy? Yeah, noodling. You ever tried that?
No, I'm a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah, okay, good. I would never do it. I wouldn't do it either. I
I'd come up
swam
with a
after an
snapper or
alligator
something.
once. I swam after an alligator once in South
That's not the
Carolina.
smartest decision you ever made.
That was really dumb.
No, those freshwater, let me see this. Aside from like the Welsh catfish and stuff like that, those get really big. But the ones down here in the lower 48 and stuff, no, they don't get that big. They get a couple of 100 pounds. But all these
I just remember reading an
catfish,
article about them doing a repair on like the Hoover Dam and stuff, and the divers that went down said that they saw fish that were as big as a Cadillac. But that's what they said. I don't know.
Yeah.
That every lake has that. Every lake has that legend.
There's always a fish story somewhere.
What y'all got to remember is I dove.
Yeah,
I dove
true.
on a damn project. Okay, not a damn project, but a damn project.
Yeah.
And actually, so yeah, and I've seen these big catfish, and they are big, and they will kill you, but you got to basically stick your leg in front of them. But if they ever get a hold of you, yes, they will drown you. They are that big. They are that big. They are big enough you can ride. They are a couple of 100 pounds, and they get about 6 feet long. I say 6 feet. Wow. The biggest one I ever saw personally was 7 feet long.
Damn,
so
that's big.
They do get that big, but that's big as a Volkswagen and stuff. No, I'm sorry. No, if they don't, I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but they don't.
Well, no, I tell you, I'll take 6 feet long and about a 2 foot of width of girth.
Yeah, right. That might give you a fighting chance anyway.
You're not going to catch that on no rod and reel either.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, is it possible that there's been a few that's gotten monstrous? Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, the only thing that limits a fish is his age, his growing size, his age, and the body of water he's in, and the amount of food he's getting. That's the only 3 determinations.
Yeah,
you know, they'll continue to grow as long as they live if the body of water is big enough.
Well, that's probably why we have Tessie and Charlie and all these monsters that everybody spots in their lakes.
Yep. But I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of divers, and and just by my personal experience and everything, and no, and that they wasn't no. And I'm sorry, there ain't no divers going down there, coming up and going, I ain't never going back down there.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
No, that ain't going to happen. These divers are not, no. Big fish, a big catfish is not going to scare one of these divers. It's not going to do it. So, but yeah. Sorry. Now,
coming up on the 2-hour mark, guys.
Yeah, we were about there.
Yeah, just about. Well, it's been a Jim Dandy of a show, I would say, hanging out.
Yeah, it was cool, man.
Beers and bandanas. Thanks for everybody for coming on. Yeah. Thanks for Hawk for becoming a new member of the Blondes and Booze, and Shadows for your super chat. That was awesome.
Yep. Thank you all for that.
Yeah, thank you, 2 Shadows, for the awesome super sticker chat, whatever it was. I can't ever tell the difference. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know the difference. They're the same. It's money.
But thank you for the donation. How's that?
There you go.
And, Stingray says he used to cave dive.
Oh.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But we had, it's always a blast when I get to chew the fat with y'all boys.
Oh, yeah. It's always fun.
I was just going to say, don't forget to join the membership. Blondes and Booze has it. Rob has memberships. So I don't know if Tex has any Ranger platforms or not. Or
you don't know if I have a members deal?
Tex has a membership.
I'm the only one out of all these people that out of our group that actually gives shit away.
Oh,
I give out a picture of myself with a bandana.
You don't even know if I have a membership.
Oh, Gerald, you shouldn't have brought that up now.
Oh my God,
Wow.
dude! I thought you
I'm
loved
not
me.
I'm not even monetizing. I give away stickers and stuff.
Well, see,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go. See.
Look at that. Come on now.
Oh,
Everybody loves
man.
the
In fact,
night out.
we need to have our members only thing pretty soon on Texas Front Porch. Those are awesome freaking stickers. Where are you getting them from? Sticker Mule?
Hub City.
Ah,
I just saw it the other day. You can get 100 stickers for $20. No free shipping. It's got free shipping too.
Very nice.
You have me on your membership, and I'll give away Night Owl stickers to your people. You get me on your special shows, and I'll give them out.
I can do that. Hell,
You might even throw in a Nightwatchers T-shirt.
in fact, we're giving away this next one. It's a big indoor thermometer, Bigfoot
Heck,
thermometer.
I'd like to have that.
Well, that's cool.
So that's we do. Oh, jackpot. What's it? But anyway, yeah, we need to do that pretty soon.
Since I'm the redheaded stepchild of this Texas Front Porch crew,
You are not.
I'll give away stickers.
Oh my God. Girl needs a hug. Well, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a hoot. I know we are not we are not the Blondes. We're far from it. But yeah, y'all be looking for it. If you haven't became I don't know what the Blondes are calling their members, boos maybe, ho-hos. Hoo-hoos. I don't know.
What?
Maybe there's snark level. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
I don't know what the levels are.
But you become a porcher, and we do have once a month. We do have a special members only show, and you can even come up and talk to us if you want. And we do give stuff away, and you just saw what we're giving away next time. So I'll give you all about a week notice, and we'll come up with it. We'll do it after Thanksgiving. But and don't forget to go over there and become if you want to become a pirate, you can go over to the Rob show and become a porch pirate.
Yeah, I said porch
pirate the other day.
That was so funny when you said that the other day.
I know. I said it twice.
So y'all go become a porch pirate.
Become a porch pirate, a BMR porch pirate.
But what I really want y'all to do is go over and hit subscribe to Midwest Nightwatchers, because they got some very interesting stuff going on over there.
They do.
Go see Papa G get feather landed in his head. I don't know what the hell that thing was that night, but all kinds of crazy
I don't
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
We keep watching that still. We keep going over it. People still watch that, and it's like, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, that night it happened. We went over it and over it and over it and over it. And I just had no clue what it was, but it's interesting. Y'all need to go take a look at it. But anyway, thank y'all for.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great show. It was a great show, actually. Oh no, yeah.
And we will see y'all.
On the flip side.
Well, no, Gerald will. Their show's coming up Sunday at 6.
Okay, guys.
Sunday, 6 p.m. Central.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I forgot. I'm doing a show Saturday night as well, so check me out.
Yeah, you got Josh Turner on Saturday night. I've got Josh Turner on Monday night.
Yeah, so we got Josh Paranormal Roundtable.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
A
lot of good stuff going on.
We'll have all three of us again this weekend.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've got a lot of good stuff going on for the Christmas holidays too, some special Christmas. We'll be doing some Christmas giveaways over I think on all the channels. I just mentioned that just now, text, so we'll have to get together and collaborate on it. You're welcome very much.
Don't go see old Barton Nunnelly over there too.
By the way,
good old Bart. Yeah. All right, guys.
We'll see y'all later.